The Indian Constitution grants the rights of equality, dignity, and freedom for all individuals. The seventh schedule of the Constitution also recognizes the need for protection and providing of sufficient relief to disabled persons. As a step towards fulfilling its international obligations, the Indian government has enacted the Persons with Disabilities, Equal Opportunities, Protection of Rights and Full Participation Act of 1995, which aims at ensuring equality and creating opportunities for persons with disabilities, along with ensuring their participation in the process of growth and development of the nation. Apart from legislative measures, the government has also undertaken active steps and measures for promoting awareness and sensitizing the authorities and general public about the special needs of disabled persons. The Ministry of Social Justice has taken initiatives to establish 5 composite centers and provide services for the benefit of disabled persons in India. The revised DDRS scheme, now named the Deen Dayal Disabled Rehabilitation Scheme, affords opportunities for growth and further development of people, and it seeks to promote voluntary action of the members of the families and society. Whereas in recent times, the need for sensitizing the society towards the needs of the disabled persons is sought to be addressed, it is recommended that government should undertake additional financial aid and social security schemes for the benefit of the disabled persons. It is estimated that a total of 208 lakh persons with disabilities reside in rural areas, and approximately 49% of those are disabled persons who are literate, while only 34% are engaged in gainful employment. The Indian Constitution has incorporated the concept of equality, dignity, and freedom of all individuals. Further, in the 7th schedule, the Constitution has explicitly recognized the need for protection and providing of sufficient relief to disabled persons. India is also a signatory to the Declaration on the Full Participation and Equality of People with Disabilities in the Asia-Pacific region and the BIWACO Millennium Framework for Action towards an Inclusive, Barrier-Free and Rights-Based Society. In fulfillment of its commitment, the government enacted the Persons with Disabilities, Equal Opportunities, Protection of Rights and Full Participation Act 1995, which aims at ensuring equality and creating opportunities for persons with disabilities as well as their participation in the process of growth and development of the nation. The Persons with Disability Act 1995 was significant because it brought into focus the obligation of the state to provide for equal opportunities to the disabled persons, equal protection of rights, and ensure the development of the nation. The 5-year plans also specify the plans and policies to be adopted to ensure the welfare and interests of disabled children. It was during the course of the 9th plan that the legislation of protection of rights of persons with disabilities was passed. During the 9th plan, the government reiterated its commitment to take active steps for making society more inclusive and ensuring that the disabled persons are made active contributors to both the economy and the society. During the 10th plan, it was proposed that a component plan for the disabled persons should be introduced in the budget of the concerned ministries to ensure a regular flow of funds for the various schemes undertaken to support disabled persons. It is pertinent to examine the social welfare measures, including plans, programs, and schemes undertaken by the government for ensuring the protection and promotion of interests of the disabled persons. Schemes. Let us now look at schemes for providing employment to persons with disabilities in the private sector. The need for the implementation of this scheme stems from the fact that there is a need to provide employment opportunities to disabled persons to ensure their equal representation in society. The total outlay of this scheme for the 11th plan is estimated to be near 1800 crores, and it is envisaged that 1 lakh jobs would be created during this time. The government has introduced incentives, including that it would cover the employer's contribution to the EPF, which is the Employee Provident Fund, and ESI for the first 3 years. The scheme would extend to employees who would fall within the ambit of Persons with Disabilities Act 1995 and the National Trust for the Welfare of Persons affected with autism, cerebral palsy, mental retardation, and multiple disabilities Act. Other schemes formulated under the Persons with Disabilities, Equal Opportunities, Protection of Rights and Full Participation Act. To take active steps to promote the realization of this Act, the government has undertaken active steps to promote the awareness and sensitize the authorities and general public about the special needs of disabled persons. This has been achieved through providing funds to universities and administrative training centers in various states and union territories for installation of lifts and providing barrier-free access to disabled persons. The ministry has further established 5 composite centers for persons with disabilities with the view of providing health, employment and vocational training, education, as well as rehabilitation facilities for the persons affected with disabilities. The ministry has also taken steps to establish district disability rehabilitation centers. The primary function of these centers is to provide for rehabilitation facilities for persons affected with disabilities. The centers provide for services for the early detection of disabilities and making reference for medical intervention and surgical correction in those cases where the same is possible. Other services provided by the centers include fitment of artificial aids, provisions of training and imparting skills through vocational education and speech therapy, and organizing skill building sessions for persons with disabilities. The purpose of these sessions is to equip the disabled persons with skills which would enable them to secure job placements in local industries and factories which are conducive to their employment conditions. Another project has been initiated by the government for creating awareness on prevention and intervention in case of different types of disability. Herein, Anganwadi workers are used for the purpose of conducting awareness programs and disseminate information in rural India. Let us now look at the Technology Development Scheme. This scheme has been introduced with the object of providing suitable and effective aids through the application of technology. This is particularly useful for those disabled persons who, through the aid of technology, can improve their chances for employability. Furthermore, the effective use of technology for disabled persons can further lead to their integration into society. This scheme, which was introduced in 1991, implements suitable research and development projects for the purpose of developing aids and devices. Several research agencies, voluntary organizations, and research and educational institutes are involved in its implementation. The technical advisory groups involved select the projects and monitor them through different stages in the areas of orthopedic, mental, visual, and speech and hearing disabilities. In accordance with an order of the Supreme Court in April 2004, banks which had collected an excess amount of 723 crores annually through rounding off while collecting the amount payable as interest tax were expected to transfer this amount to a trust set up for the welfare of persons with disabilities. The name of this trust is the National Trust for Welfare of Persons with Autism, Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation, and Multiple Disabilities. Let us now look at the scheme of National Awards for Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities. Empowerment of disabled persons is regarded to be important in any inclusive society, since it ensures the employability of disabled persons and improves their level of self-confidence. It can be described as being interdisciplinary, since it covers the concept of intervention, education, and skill development, as well as rehabilitation and social integration of the disabled persons. It also necessitates the involvement of individuals and institutions such as the family, community, and teachers who are in close interaction with disabled persons. The government has instituted special awards for individuals and institutions who dedicate their effort towards the empowerment of disabled persons. Awards are also presented to the government sector, public sector individuals, as well as private sector organizations which have undertaken concerted efforts to create a disabled friendly environment. Let us now look at schemes of national scholarship for persons suffering from disabilities. Every year, 500 new scholarships are awarded to those disabled persons who are pursuing technical and professional courses. This criteria is relaxed for those students with cerebral palsy, mental retardation, and multiple disabilities to those who have successfully completed Standard 9. This scholarship scheme extends to those who are suffering from 40% or more disability and whose family income is not more than rupees 15,000. Furthermore, an amount of rupees 700 per month is provided to scholars and rupees 1,000 per month is provided to hostelers who are pursuing either graduate or postgraduate studies. The students would also be provided with reimbursement of their course fee. The Deen Dayal Disabled Rehabilitation Scheme to promote voluntary action for persons with disabilities. This is the revised DDRS scheme. The scheme to promote voluntary action for persons with disabilities was revised and it was renamed the Deen Dayal Disabled Rehabilitation Scheme. The scheme has been named after Pandit Deen Dayal, according to whom education is an investment in the interest of the society. He advocates that development begins with people, their education, organization, and development. Therefore, opportunities for growth and development of people are necessary to create an integral human being. An important aspect of this scheme is to promote voluntary action of members of families as well as society. The scheme to promote voluntary action for persons with disabilities was revised in 2003 and replaced by the DDRS scheme. This change accounted for the change in costs, and it has also been revised to the extent of widening the scope of the model projects in order to ensure that the process of rehabilitation is made community based. The close interaction and cooperation between the state, members of the community, civil society, and family members is necessary to successfully integrate disabled persons within the mainstream society. The government has aptly recognized the role of the non-governmental organizations who assist in running rehabilitation centers for disabled persons. Therefore, this scheme also provides for assistance in the running of such rehabilitation centers for persons with leprosy, mental retardation, and cerebral palsy. Assistance is also rendered through the establishment of special schools for persons with orthopedic, speech related, hearing, visual, as well as mental disability. Non-governmental organizations working with disabled persons are encouraged to engage in projects of vocational training and skill development through provision of financial assistance. The Ministry has sought to revise the new scheme in order to further revise the cost norms and widen the scope of the modern projects. The primary objects of the revised scheme are to establish an enabling environment for ensuring the provision of equal opportunities, equity, social welfare, and empowerment, as well as encouraging voluntary action to ensure the implementation of the Persons with Disabilities Act. This scheme, as discussed above, seeks to provide for financial assistance to non-governmental and civil society organizations working with disabled persons through intervention, provision of education, development of skill and technical training to ensure employability, measures to improve awareness, and finally take all necessary steps towards the inclusion of persons with disabilities into mainstream of society. It is pertinent to examine the strategies devised by the government to achieve this objective. Firstly, it involves improving educational opportunities at all levels and provision of adequate vocational and training opportunities for employment and income generation. Secondly, it aims at supporting all necessary steps which are required for providing formal as well as non-formal employment opportunities. Thirdly, community-based rehabilitation schemes should be comprehensive in scope and should be carried out in urban as well as rural areas. The government should endeavor to work closely with individuals and institutions involved in projects, programs, organizing activities and schemes for persons with disabilities. Finally, the government should also provide assistance for the development, publication and distribution of information as well as provide assistance for training of personnel at different levels. The government should also support and supervise the construction and maintenance of buildings, the furniture and fittings provided, as well as machinery and equipment used. An important measure being implemented by the government, which has been successfully enforced in many colleges, is the provision of disabled friendly furniture and buildings. Projects implemented for disabled persons should be environment friendly. Appropriate sports and recreational facilities should be developed for disabled children and young adults to encourage their participation in sports and build upon their talent potential. These activities are important as they enable young disabled persons to inculcate social skills and to develop their creative potential. Finally, it is recommended that the government should make a provision for building hostels and houses, if necessary, for providing a safe and healthy environment for people with disabilities. Let us now look at a few steps which can be taken to improve the conditions of people with disabilities. Although several measures have been taken since the early 1990s for providing financial and counseling based support, the desired impact of government measures is still to be realized. In accordance with internationally accepted best practices, it is recommended that the government should additionally formulate old age pension schemes, medical benefits scheme, unemployment assistance, as well as social assistance for disabled persons. Provision of disabled friendly public infrastructure such as roads, transport and public buildings should be made mandatory by the government. However, to ensure the holistic integration of disabled persons into society, there should be mainstreaming of the existing social security programs and schemes to make them more representative of the interests of the disabled persons. Through this lecture, we have seen that the government has put in place multiple schemes and other promotional and beneficial systems to help those members of the society who have disabilities. However, it is the implementation and proper implementation of these schemes which would actually bring the desired benefits to the people suffering from disabilities. Along with that, the government is not the sole agency which can help people with disabilities. The citizenry, the populace, the people as a whole have to become more understanding of the different needs of people with disabilities. Homes have to be more disabled friendly. Schools, colleges and all public institutions and places have to be designed and made in a form which makes it easier for the disabled to lead their lives and makes the world more inclusive.